Cool, and we're live. Hey guys, welcome to Digit.in, or much rather, the Digit Squad channel. And today we're going to be talking about choosing the right gaming laptop. So, there's a bunch of things that we're going to go over. And originally, the way I had planned this live was actually to use a phone and show you, the gaming laptop that I have, why I chose it, what's the deal with it, what's good, what's bad, etc., and sort of help you guys also figure out what would be the right gaming laptop for you. So right now we've got a few members already joining. Let's just let's give it a few more minutes, and you guys are getting a peek into my room since we're all working from home nowadays, thanks to the coronavirus outbreak. I hope all of you are staying safe, and I hope you guys are all practicing social distancing so that we can sort of put an end to this virus, and hopefully one day be able to get out of our homes and start having fun like we used to back in the day. So anyhow, so today's topic is choosing the right gaming laptop. And in the last few weeks, we've had announcements from both, actually all three major players, AMD, Intel, and Nvidia, about their new hardware. So we're going to cover that. We're going to cover what's already there. Hi Ashu, hi Rakshit. Nice to see you guys here. So awesome. So we'll cover a lot of things. And when we talk about gaming laptops, one of the things is, so I've been a gamer for a while, and have gone between PC, console, handheld, all of the thing, right? Come back to PC eventually. And the best thing about gaming laptops is that they're not just perfect for gaming, they're also amazing for content creators. So we're going to also cover that. Now we have a very, very active comment section. So if you have any questions, just put them out in the comment section. And I'm actually watching it right now, so you'll probably see my head go like this quite a bit. But I'm going to address all of these questions that you may have, and of course also walk you through the way to sort of make a decision around the right gaming laptop to choose. So let's begin. Yeah. Okay. So just a quick feeler out there. How many of you are PC gamers? Um, anybody you guys wanna just throw a heads up out there and like throw your hands up? See, PC gamers, right? So all of us here are gamers in some way, or we want a powerful laptop. And one of the things that you want to consider when you're getting a gaming laptop is, of course, like, we want it to last as long as possible, right? Like, we want that this one gaming laptop that I buy today should last me like forever. Ideal situation. But turns out, according to Intel, Intel's own study internally, they say that people tend to typically upgrade every 2.5 years for gaming laptops. Desktops is about three and a half years. Um, so we've got that. But yeah, Ashu, you're saying that some people say Intel takes out more FPS than AMD. True, not true. It really comes down to the kind of spec your machine is running. Let's say if you've got an i7 along with one particular GPU and a specific amount of RAM, and then you have a comparable AMD CPU. So let's say if it's an i7, then you've got a Ryzen 7, let's say 3700X, for example. But you make sure all of your other components are the same, like you use the same GPU, same RAM, same SSD, and run the games. You may end up with comparable frame rates. It will not be very different. So that's another thing that we're going to talk about today, like frame rates. Where do you sort of draw the line? How much is enough? And is like getting the absolute highest, like, oh my god, I got like 240 FPS or 300 FPS gameplay, does that even make a difference to you? I mean, for us, like, um so that's sort of something we're going to cover as well. Okay. um 1 second, I will be right back. Uh, Sorry about that. That was a call that could not be avoided. So let's sort of begin. So I've already got a bunch of questions coming in. So yeah, Ashu, like you asked, will Intel give more FPS than AMD? If you manage to get two machines with the identical specification, the only difference being the CPU, you may notice that some games run better on AMD and games will run better on Intel. It really just is, but it's going to be like, you look at like 105 FPS versus 108, 110 FPS. It'll be in that very negligible range, but we'll get to that in more detail as we move forward. Ritesh, is Predator a good gaming laptop? Definitely is. The Predator series from Acer has actually been one of the very popular laptops series. So uh, also getting a lot of questions on my WhatsApp group. Okay, so yeah, so there is it is a good series, and Acer has the Predator series and the Triton series, and both of them have been widely popular amongst gamers around the world. So if you are looking at a Predator, I would say you looking at a right machine, you should go for it. Okay, let's see. Ashu, you want 90 plus FPS. Actually, 90 plus FPS in 1080p gaming should not be very difficult to achieve with either Intel or AMD. So it'll really just come down to your choice of GPU. These days, games tend to be very GPU centric rather than CPU centric, unless you're of course into let's say massive online multiplayer games or something like League of Legends or something that'll be more that also taxes the CPU as well as the GPU. So really, if you're into FPS, like if you want to play Call of Duty, you want 90 plus FPS. You can't go wrong with a good powerful CPU. I'm talking like i7ish. So if you guys want to know kind of what I game on, so I have a desktop at home, of course, but this is my gaming laptop. This is the ROG Strix Scar 2. It's an i7 8750H. So that's the 8th gen i7, 16 gigs of RAM, and an NVIDIA 1060. Now, if I was to play Call of Duty or Modern Warfare on that at 1080p with the graphics set to high, I can get about 7680 FPS. So that should give you sort of some figure of where exactly those numbers will lie. uh, 1 second, I just need to take care of something. Right. So you've got that. Then besides that, in terms of, we've had some very interesting announcements on both laptops and desktop GPU, CPU recently. So let's just sort of go over that as well. But before that, let's see. Lots of questions have come in already, and that's sort of what I'm gonna start answering now. Okay. So let's begin with let's see. Hmm. See, Ashu, your question's actually been answered by Abhipray, who said that FPS really depends on the title you're playing, and he's correct. You depending on the title, depending on the graphic settings, like some people want, that I want the highest possible frame rates, and visual fidelity is not that important. You could turn it down to 720p medium graphics and get like super high frame rates. But then the same game at 1080p, the best possible graphic settings could give you maybe barely 60. So it really does come down to the combination of settings. Um, Others, you've been using your Helios 300 for the last 2 years. So, yes, it's worth buying and no issues so far. That's actually great advice. So, the Helios 300, part of the Predator series from Acer, and you have a testimonial from a user here, and it's a great thing to go for. Um, Rakshit Suvarna, are Macs good for gaming? Oh, they are. So this live is currently happening on a 16-inch MacBook Pro, and one of the first things I did was boot camp it and run Doom on it. And Doom at 1080p with its graphics completely maxed out ran at about 86, 87 FPS, which is pretty exciting. But having said that, this has a Radeon Pro 5500M, not the best GPU for gaming. And if you play games like Shadow the Tomb Raider, I was able to barely manage 30, 35 FPS. So if you're going to boot camp, you may encounter some performance issues. But same thing, Shadow the Tomb Raider running on native Mac, 48 FPS, so not so bad. Pranav, do you think that 300 hertz display is useful on laptop, as most games with RTX run under 200 FPS? So, Pranav, the thing is that with 300 hertz display, right, with any kind of new kind of technology coming in, there is always this chicken and egg situation. If you don't have 300 hertz display, and if we don't buy them, game developers will never have the incentive to sort of make sure that the games are running at uncapped frame rates. Now, that being the case, that makes sure that this sort of ecosystem works hand in hand, like one, it's a domino effect of sorts. So that's very important. And I mean, we've seen, like, right now Doom Eternal, for example, has its frame rates are uncapped, so it can go as high as, according to the developers, 1000 fps if you have the hardware. So 300 hertz displays, yes, can be useful, especially if you're looking to get into the esports domain, right? Like, that's a very, very competitive domain, and that's actually where this demand has come from. Like, esports players have demanded from hardware manufacturers that we need these 300 hertz displays, so hook us up. um, so that's what. Digital Indian, yes, you're right. You'll get way better devices on Windows for gaming. That's definitely true. Way better catalog of games as well. So, okay. Himanshu, which one? i7 7 Gen with a GTX 1050, or an i5 7 Gen with 1050 Ti and 128 GB SSD? So, Himanshu, I'm assuming that whatever laptop you're looking at, the storage should be upgradable. So, I would say go with the i7 and with the 1050, because at the end of the day, if you can upgrade the SSD, sorry, the hard drive to an SSD and eventually add more RAM, you will end up prolonging the life of that machine a little bit more. With an i5, you may bottleneck the CPU. So, there is that. Um, so yeah, Ashu Mishra, what do you think? Which gaming laptop company has not been in the race? I think they're all there. You take look at HP, Lenovo, Asus, Dell. Everybody's in this gaming space, and like they're getting into this gaming space big. There was a time when the choice of gaming laptops was like limited to maybe four models from a company, right? But now you have multiple tiers, and in each tier you have multiple configurations. So it's really, really lucrative and it's booming. Like, and the best thing is that this is the best time for you as buyers to sort of choose. Like, the choice you have right now has never really been there before. So this is a really good time. um Rakshit Suvarna, is it better to build a PC or buy a PC? I'm a builder. I have built all of my PCs. I've got one lying back there. I've got one right here. There's multiple PCs in the office that we've built. I love to build stuff. If you're comfortable with it, I would say always build it, because it gives you the flexibility of the choice of components. It gives you the flexibility of budget, and it also makes sure that when you want to upgrade the PC, you know how to do it. Now, let's say if you buy a pre-built system, yes, your advantage is that you don't have to deal with 15 different people when it comes to warranty, so it's like a one-stop shop. But then your upgrades are also limited. Like 3 years later, when you want to upgrade the machine, you may not know how to do it. So building a PC, I always recommend that if you're a PC guy, you should at least build a PC 4 or 5 times in your life. The reason not once is because I know for the first time we'll all make some mistake or the other. So, all right, okay. Uh, okay. Biswajit Sahu, what laptop is best for gaming and also daily purposes? Okay. Uh, that's a very interesting question. What laptops are great for gaming? Now, you can game on a laptop as long as it has a mid-tier CPU and a dedicated GPU. You can game on it. The experience will, of course, not be the best. And for daily use, it really comes down to what you consider your daily use to be. Now, if you're a content creator, your daily use may be video editing or photo editing. Well, for somebody like me, my daily use actually is a lot of writing, and because we write a lot of reviews, we write a lot of stories. So for me, it's typing. So it really comes down to figuring out what that balance is, and the more power hungry your needs are, the higher end components you will need in your laptop. So you could look at anything from literally like a Helios 300, all the way up to something like a Zephyrus, which costs a lot of money. So I would love some more details on what your daily use is, what kind of games you play, and then I'll be able to give you a better answer. Uh, all right. Okay. So a couple of guidelines. Okay, let's talk about this. And if you guys follow along, I'm sure it'll help you with sort of figuring out what kind of laptop you should get. Um, so let's sort of look at you know um, one second. Sorry, yeah. So let's look at what sort of configuration you would need to run games at specific types of frame rates or quality level. Now, if you're somebody who's on a tight budget and you want a decent gaming experience, 60 FPS is, in my opinion, very, very fair number to aim for. You could look at laptops that cost anywhere between 50 to 75,000 rupee range. You'll probably get like a 1650 GPU or an RX 5500M type GPU in that. You'll get an i5 if you're looking at Intel. With AMD, you would get probably a Ryzen 5 in that sort of a setup. Um, so that'll be a good starting point. And of course, the display may not be like a 120 hertz display or an IPS display, but that's fine. It's a great starting point. All right. Now, when you want to get into 100 plus FPS range, and of course, this is all assuming 1080p, medium graphics, you could look at a step up. You could look at something like an i7 and maybe a 2060 based GPU. Now, what happens there is, especially now with Nvidia actually announcing a $300 price drop on laptops that come with the 2060, and some OEMs have actually followed through and cut the prices on laptops that run a 2060 GPU in them. So you may be able to get a cheaper one now. So good point. Okay, so somebody in comments has said wait for Ryzen 4000 laptop series. I 100% recommend that. If you're looking to buy a laptop now, wait. Just wait. It's not just the Ryzen 4000 series, but even the Intel 10 gen laptops are on the way. Um, it's just better to spend your money in one go and after you've sort of evaluated all of these parameters, because it's a lot of money. Any gaming laptop, 30, 40, 50K, whatever amount of money, it's still going to be a lot of money for you, right? So just wait. It's a good idea. Somebody also pointed out, besides FPS, besides the refresh rate of the display, there's also response time. That is actually super critical. You're right. Now, typically with gaming laptops, they tend to advertise the response time as 3 millisecond or 5 millisecond, gray to gray, which is absolutely fine. Some will not, and those are the ones you should be wary of. If there is a laptop with a display that does not have the response time mentioned, chances are its response time is going to be not very fast. And what happens in that case is you end up with ghosting, especially when you're playing fast action based games. So if you've got a crosshair and you're aiming and you quickly move your mouse to the left or to the right or whatever, you'll see like a trail of that cursor, and that can actually adversely impact your gaming experience. So yes, response time is equally important. Sabisachi Mitra wants to know if we would recommend Ryzen plus Nvidia or Intel plus Nvidia under 60K. Mm, if you're talking about the new generation that's coming up, I will not be able to give you an answer simply because we've not tested any of those laptops. So I'm going to leave that aside. But if you're talking about the current gen one, you actually can't go wrong with either, especially if you can find an Intel and Nvidia combination. That's probably a better bet. But if you're looking at the 4000 series Ryzen, then I would recommend you wait, because that's going to be a game changer for sure. Okay. Adarsh, Helios 300 is a bit heavy. Let me give you a very interesting insight. Now we have so the ROG Zephyrus, right? Zephyrus is supposed to be these thin, light laptops. So there is the Zephyrus GX 531. You guys can Google it. Like that's just how I remember it. But it's a very thin laptop. It's about one point. It's just like 1.8 or 18 millimeters. My bad, 18 millimeters in thickness. But that thing still weighs. two and a half, like 2.3 kilograms. So gaming laptops being light is sort of a misnomer, I guess, because the more powerful the hardware is, especially when it comes to CPU and GPU, the more copper pipes these guys have to put in to sort of manage the thermals. Remember that. So weight is a fair enough trade-off. Thickness in some cases, yes, but not all. So yeah. Others, Strix G or Triton 300. Ooh, very tricky. Honestly, in my opinion, you can't go wrong with either of those. I have Strix Scar 2. I love this machine to death. And, so there is that personal preference, but both the Triton 300 and the Strix G are amazing machines. They're both amazing series, actually. So you could pick up any of the configurations in there and you'd be happy. All right. Okay. Uh, so we have somebody who commented saying something about the Ryzen 4000 series numbers. Yes, they are amazing. The Ryzen 4000 series has posted some crazy frame rate numbers. But the only thing is, right now, we don't have a lot of options on that. Like we've seen some, like the Zephyrus G14 is one from Asus that's come out. Let's see more Ryzen laptops with higher end GPUs also making their way. I think it's going to be a great year. Like AMD is crushing it when it comes to the laptop, or rather, in fact, just the entire CPU game. So it's definitely a very big plus. But big word of caution if you're a content creator going with AMD. Now, Intel has something called QuickSync on built onto its CPUs, which is I think 8th gen onwards, which accelerates the encoding and decoding of video files in Adobe Premiere. Now, if you're a Premiere user, Premiere, After Effects, these two, if you use these two programs and you have an AMD CPU, you cannot therefore leverage QuickSync, and your render times will jump up a lot, like noticeably a lot. So if you're invested in the Adobe ecosystem, you're sort of going to be locked into Intel and Nvidia. So yeah, there is that. Okay. Ashik Mohammed, battery life of gaming laptops and the quality endurance of components using gaming laptops should be made to last a fair lifetime. Okay. So you're right. One of the reasons gaming laptops don't last, so to say, is not actually because they break or the components are bad, but actually because the games that come out in like probably 4 years time, the games that will come out will not be running at the best possible settings on a laptop that's like today's modern day laptop. Reason being, for example, if you take a laptop from 4 years ago, there's no way it can run an RTX title. So if you take Metro Exodus, which uses the most intense version of RTX, global illumination, you may still be able to play Metro Exodus on it, but you'll not be able to enjoy that lighting, right? So that's sort of the reason why a lot of people upgrade, because they also want to be able to sort of experience the best. So there's that. Um, Anand Bhandari, what about MSI laptops? Man, they're great. MSI has been making some amazing laptops for so many years, and especially this GS series is like top notch. If you can find yourself something in there that you like, pick it up, no doubt. Um, Hari Krishnan, what are my thoughts on the Zephyrus G14? Oh man, okay, I have to tell you guys this. At CES, I spent a good hour and a half with the G14 playing. What was it? Sorry, the latest Star Wars game, right? And what's really cool is that you look at this laptop and you realize that it's actually a very cleverly designed machine. It feels like a lot like the ZenBook Duo, not the ZenBook Pro Duo, the Duo, with the ergolift hinge and everything. And at the same time, the unit that I was playing on had a 120 hertz display, 1080p, and it had a 1660 in there, not a 2060. I was running a comfortable 70-75 FPS, 1080p high graphics. So it was very good. Like the experience was amazing, but it was a prototype. It was an engineering sample, so For example, the problem with that was the fans were stuck to the maximum speed, so like you could not lower the fan speed, and they get loud. Um, so all in all, my experience was that this is a laptop that I'm really looking forward to. And I'm actually really looking forward to more machines with AMD's chips in them, because for the first time, you're getting some serious bang for your buck in the laptop space. So, yes, I would definitely recommend that if you guys are waiting, just wait. Like, just give it about 2.5 months. Because of this whole coronavirus thing, things have gotten delayed, but it's really, really definitely worth the wait. All right. Uh, okay, Ashutosh Shah, what is good out of the GTX M versus GTX versus RTX series? Uh, um, okay, before I get to that, wait. Adobe has made custom suite for Apple laptops with AMD CPUs. Apple laptops don't have AMD CPUs. All the MacBooks are running Intel. They run AMD GPUs, yes, but Adobe Premiere is still leveraging Intel QuickSync. QuickSync is Intel proprietary technology, so and it can only run on Intel CPUs. It's sort of it's not gonna happen on AMD. All right, now coming to the GTX M, GTX RTX question. Now, GTX M is GTX Mobile, GTX is the standard GTX lineup, and RTX is ray tracing model of GPUs. So, um, I'm not really sure what the question is, because if you're talking about these three series in terms of the laptop counterparts, the RTX will obviously be slightly better than the GTX variants, because you're not only getting your regular CUDA cores, you're also getting Tensor cores, which are used to basically execute the new DLSS 2.0 features of games that support it, and you also have RT cores for ray tracing. So, there is that. Um, okay. Abhishek Malik, you're using a Helios 300 i7 with a 1060. Great choice, by the way. Um, okay, but you think airflow is important? Absolutely, airflow is important, and if laptop is thin and light, it will heat up more. So one of the ways to sort of circumvent this heating issue, right, is to get a cooling pad. Like, it helps because most of these laptops use aluminum at their base. It's a very good conductor of heat. So if you have a cooling pad underneath it, it will effectively help move the heat around so that your CPU and GPU are not thermal throttling. Um, Believe it or not, I've seen laptops which are like yay thick, like fat laptops, also thermal throttled. So it happens. Um, all right. So, that's right. Fallen Order. My bad. I thank you so much. um, Mm, 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 mm. Okay, Regin Thomas has a very interesting question, which is, why do we need to upgrade the PC hardware after a year or two to run newer games, while years old PlayStation can play it without any problem? This is a very PC versus console question. Now, the funny thing is, uh, you don't have to upgrade your PC every year to play a new game, or 2 years, or 3 years even, because if you say, okay, whatever game comes out, I will play it at 1080p and medium graphics, you will be able to play those games comfortably at 60 fps for fairly long time. Now, actually, this gives me a great idea. I have a older PC lying here which has 16 gigs of RAM, but it's running on the sixth generation Core i5. And I'm going to see how that sort of stacks up against my modern PC and what the frame rates are like. But the thing is that with consoles, they're doing a lot of dynamic scaling. There's a lot of adjustment of the graphic quality on the fly that happens. So whenever there is a dip in visual quality, you may not necessarily notice it. There's a lot of upscaling and dynamic resolution. So it's a very intelligent way to make sure that the console can deliver a playable 60 fps, or so it'll vary the resolution accordingly or the quality accordingly. So there is that. um okay, so okay, Yeah, so Daksh has also said the same thing. Like gaming consoles have fixed hardware, and then console games for consoles are designed to be dynamically adjustable in terms of the visual quality. Whereas with PC, you have the flexibility now. Similarly, like I said, if you decide that hey, my PC is from 2015 and I want to play a game released in 2020, will it be able to run at 4K 120 FPS? Of course not. But yes, you will be able to play it in 1080p 60 FPS just fine. So there is that cutoff. Like even with consoles, there will eventually be a cutoff point where your original Xbox One, for example, will not be able to support a certain Xbox title at certain quality levels. Same thing with the PlayStation. So we haven't gotten there yet, but we will. Amit Singh, is the GTX 1650 worth it in 2020? If you're talking about the laptop version of it, I would say go for it, man. If that's what gets you into gaming, do it. It is a GPU that can handle games easily. You're not gonna feel bad about that purchase. Okay. You want to know? Okay. Tech Scooter TV wants to know about Digit Life and how we select rings. We say if there's a computer, send it. We love computers. We love laptops. We love PC hardware, and we do not discriminate. So if certain companies want to send us any kind of hardware, we'll never say no. That's basically it. Uh, Adarsh Panda has a very good recommendation for Amit, which is add some more budget for an RTX GPU. I would say go for it. The RTX GPUs are a really, really good baseline. Even like a 2060 will get you, it'll set you up. And not just for gaming, but for content creation as well. Uh, and Daksh, I wouldn't rate anything when it comes to the Ryzen 4000 and the 10 gen mobile CPU. Simple reason being, I have not used either of them in a test based setting, right? Like of course I've had the chance to play with the G14 at CES, but I haven't even like looked at a 10 gen Intel laptop. So that being said, like once these machines do come in, there are certain things that I would want to test, and then I would be able to give you a better answer. um uh okay, which laptop under 60K for gaming? You know what? If you can find yourself a laptop which has, let's say, a 1660 and or even the RX 5500M for that matter, with as the GPU and an i5 or a Ryzen 5 with 8 gigs of RAM, upgradable, of course. So when you buy a gaming laptop, also just look for how much components on the inside are upgradable, because that really helps. Like, sure, you bought a machine which has 16 gigs of RAM on board and both your DIMM slots are full, but can you take those out and put in 32 gigs? It helps. So look for those things. Then uh uh, अरुण सर कहाँ है अरुण सर नहीं पता मेरे को कहाँ है. Okay. And then even when it comes to storage, like look for how many M.2 slots are there. Are they NVMe based, SATA based? Do you get multiple hard drive slots? All of these things, just look for them, because it makes sure that the money you're spending now, you're able to squeeze as much out of that machine as possible and like sort of prolong its life as much as possible, which is one of the reasons why the DIY PC market is not dead, because people keep upgrading. What about Lenovo Legion? I love the Vive 740, to be very honest. It's one of my it's got this really, it's a very chic looking laptop. It could easily fit into your college lectures. It could be part of your office meetings. Nobody would know it's a gaming laptop. So I think the Legion series is absolutely amazing, and you should, if you are considering one, the Wi-Fi 40 is, yes, more budget friendly, and it does not have the extra macro keys on the side on the keyboard. So just keep a lookout for that. Tech Geek, this is not a fake Digit channel. This is the Digit Squad channel. So it's for the community, the Digit Squad community. So that's where we are. Arun sir, you guys should call him. Okay. Okay. Daksh, real life speed difference between NVMe and M.2 SATA. Ooh, big difference. M.2 SATA is still limited to the SATA 3 protocol, which is allowing transfers of 6 gigabits per second. So that basically comes out to a rough estimate of about anywhere between 200 to 300 Mbps read writes. NVMe you can cross a gig in read writes. So that's basically the difference. Of course, the gig read write speeds also rely on, what is the SLC cache on your particular NVMe drive, how quickly the cache is getting filled up. But when it comes to games, I mean, I don't think you'll notice the difference that much, but you will definitely notice if you're loading a game off of a hard drive and a solid state drive. That difference is definitely noticeable, but between an NVMe and an SSD, not so much. Plus, when did we become the kind of people who like always screamed, "Oh my god, one extra second"? Doesn't matter. Like, just have a cup of coffee in that time. Uh, Abhishek Malik sent you a custom cooling pad. Thanks, bro. I think that'll help the entire community quite a bit. Regin Thomas, I heard gaming on Linux is getting better day by day, even with low specs. Honestly, I'm not the Linux expert in house, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get a hold of him and have him respond to this question. The simple reason being, I just don't want to give you wrong information. So, um, Adarsh Panda, what are the requirements for live streaming gaming? Of course, be a kick-ass gamer. Like, don't embarrass yourself online like I would. No, but on a more serious note, you do need to have powerful hardware for that. Now, if you use NVIDIA GPUs, NVIDIA has its own NVENC encoder. So the stream is sort of encoded on the GPU and it doesn't hit your CPU as hard. Or you could switch to a CPU which has a higher core count so it can handle gaming and encoding at the same time and sort of upload that. In terms of the upload bandwidth that you would need, that will vary based on what is your bitrate setting. Like if you use, for example, OBS or Discord or whatever, you'll get the settings that you can choose the bitrate at which to upload, and of course the resolution as well. So that will sort of determine whether you need a 50 Mbps line, 20 Mbps line, 100 Mbps line, maybe even. So there's that. Um, Tech Geek, do you suggest a laptop under 70K for video editing? Yes. Okay. A good laptop under 70K for editing. Okay. Exact models I may not be able to tell you right now because one, I can't look up the prices, and two, prices have changed. So, but I will tell you what, look for something with an Intel processor, anything that's 8 gen or newer. Look for at least 16 gigs of RAM, and if not that, you should be able to upgrade to 16 gigs of RAM and an NVIDIA GPU, of course. Now, when you talk about video editing, I'm assuming you're not doing any color correction or you're not doing work that requires very, very accurate colors. If so, then you may end up hitting an issue with your budget because typically what happens is laptops that have a very good IPS panel with like good 98, 99, or even 100% sRGB coverage tend to be a little on the pricier side. They do cross about 95 a lakh in rupees of budget. So as long as you're not doing color sensitive work, just video editing and rendering, you can pick up anything with an Intel i5 8 gen or newer, 16 series GPU for sure, and an upgradable RAM slot. Like you should be able to upgrade to 16 gigs of RAM, and it should have an SSD. Thankfully, these days, a lot of OEMs have decided that for gaming laptops, they're just not going to put hard drives in there. There'll be at least a 250 or 256 gig NVMe or M.2 SATA SSD. So yeah. Okay. When will the next tech day be organized? Okay. Once the coronavirus situation dies, after that, we're going to make sure that there is no possible way for it to be transmitted. So once we absolutely know that uh, you know, putting a bunch of people together in the room is safe, only then. So honestly, I don't know when that time is going to be right now. Okay. Viper's Yard wants to know if Alienware laptops are amazing. Actually, is it perfect? No, they're not perfect, but they are pretty damn amazing. If you look at the Area 51M, we've got pretty amazing laptop there, like this whole user replaceable desktop CPU and this upgradable GPU, all of that, pretty amazing. But here's the thing. Some of the M15R2 had some issues with heating, but it didn't throttle. But the problem is the Alienware laptops being sold in India, especially the the M15R2. It's a very mismatched configuration. Like if you go to Dell India's website, like they put a gaming laptop with a 4K OLED, which is with a 2070 GPU, and your OLED can't go higher than 60 FPS. So it's just sort of mismatched. But if you can get it from the States, you are more than welcome to check it out. I've done the review of the M15R2. It's on the Digit channel. Check it out as well. So it's a very, very detailed, in depth review. And I would recommend some popcorn while you watch it. So, Prashant, you want to know some stuff about the Razer Blade 15? Now, never. Actually, that's not true. I've managed to play with the Razer Blade 15 once for about half an hour. It's a really nice laptop, but that was also about a year and a half ago. In terms of what they're offering now after this whole 10 gen refresh and Nvidia announcing their 2070 and 2080 supercards, the issue is that you know in India, Razer does not have a service center. They don't have any official presence. So if you do buy a Razer laptop and something goes wrong, you're going to be stuck. Like unless you're willing to fly to whatever country you bought it from and then have it serviced and then fly back, all of that, right? So, and I think in my opinion, like Razer's biggest drawback right now is just that, like they're not present in India, so I would not recommend buying their laptops. Ashutosh Shah, will SLI make a difference to FPS? Not really, because SLI doesn't. So the way Nvidia has designed SLI is not to sort of, you're not using two cards together. You're using one card, and once it fills up, then it overflows into the other. It's sort of like that. So the performance boost is not all that much, but if you're doing, um, if you're a filmmaker and you are looking into doing debayering of raw files, video files, that is, or 8K edits and things like that, then yes, then SLI helps, but not for gaming. So that's actually, I think that pretty much sums up our Q&A for today. Does it not? Um, okay. Okay. MX series graphics in 2020. Any comments? I would recommend you go with Vega graphics instead. Like AMD's Vega graphics are far superior, at least in my experience, to the MX series. Yes, MX series means that you will be able to play, let's say, something like CSGO or Overwatch at like low graphic settings. Um, it's sort of a compromise. And I would recommend that you just save for a few more months and buy a laptop with an actual dedicated GPU, like a 16 series or even the AMD RX 5500 series GPU. Um, don't go with the MX. It's just not. Um, like a year and a half later, you'll be like, "यार, why? क्यों ले लिया? Wait कर लेते थोड़ा सा." But yeah, so thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you for your questions. And I'm sort of sorry, like it's just not the best state to do a live in, but I'm really happy that we were able to have this chat. And we always love comments, we love feedback. If you have feedback, what we can do better, that'll be great. Leave it. If you have any questions, leave it in the comments. We'll get back to you as soon as we can. And yeah, we'll see you again hopefully very, very soon. And looking forward to the next tech day as soon as possible. Thank you guys for watching.